Hello, and welcome to the Quest for Games. I'm Jerry, and in this video, I want to talk about some family favorite Halloween games that my family and I like to play at this time of the year. They're family weight games for this video, which means to me that you can play them with 5, 6-year-olds and up. I'm not going to do them in the traditional, here's the number 10 up through number 1, the best. I'm going to show them in player count orders so that you can understand how many players this game can play so that you can fit them into your situation and what you want to do. So I'm also sorry that it's taken so long for me to get another one of these out. With all that said, let's get started. So the first game is a game called Patchworks. And this is a bit of a cheat. There are different patchwork games out there. There's a Christmas one. There's the base one that we also have. There's, I think, even a patriotic one. But the basic game is you have a polyomino, think a Tetris type of piece that you're going to try to set onto your square. You have a square board that's your mat, and you're going to try to fit these pieces onto that square and fill up the entire square the best that you can. Along the way, you're trying to get buttons. Well, in this particular case, they're eyeballs because it's a Halloween themed thing. Your pieces are pumpkins. As you get a piece, you're going to have to pay a certain number of eyeballs for that piece. And then you're going to have to, when you put it, you're going to have to move your token a certain number of a time interval on the time track. And you'll have a certain amount of time, so therefore a certain number of pieces that you can put onto your board. At the end of the game, you score based on the number of eyeballs you have, minus 2 points for every space that's empty. So again, it's a 2-player game. It's really fun to play. Nope, let's go this way with them. Next game that I have is a game called Silver. This one's actually Silver Amulet, but there are multiple versions of Silver. The basic game, if you've played a card game where you have a number of cards in front of you, in this case 5, and you're trying to, you know some of them, but you don't know most of them. So you draw a card and you replace one of the ones you don't know with one that you do know. And you're trying to get your 5 cards to be the lowest possible value on the cards. For this particular game, it's werewolves. Each card is worth a certain number of werewolves. And you're trying to get to the point where you have the lowest number of werewolves in your town. The cards also have things on there that lets you steal cards from another town, or lets you protect the cards that are in your town, or there's like a doppelganger card in here that allows you to make it be the same value as another one in your town. So you do this, you draw cards, you try to replace the cards, you try to get them as low as possible. Then when you think your village is as low as it can go, you'll call for a vote. Everybody else will get a turn, and then you'll reveal your cards and you'll total it up. And if you, as the one calling for the vote, actually have the least number, then you don't have to take any points for that. And everybody else has to take the number of points that they had sitting in their town. You'll write that on a score sheet or something, do 3 rounds like that, and the person with the lowest score after 3 rounds wins. The next 4-player game I have is Monsters on Board. Monsters on Board is actually a game that, if you look at it what it says on the, on a game site or whatever, says it's 14 plus. But inside the game, inside the box, there is a player board in there that you're playing on, and there is a side to that player board that makes the game a family weight game. The basics of the game is you're rolling dice. You roll 4 dice. They're different colors matching the different monsters that you have. In the family weight game, you roll the dice. You have your car, which takes 4 dice in it. You draft 1 dice out of your car, and you move and you pass the car around, and you'll get a car passed to you. You'll take the 4 different dice, and then you'll move your players along the player board. You'll move your monsters along that player board based on how well you drafted the dice. And the way we play it, in the family weight version of it, or the family weight side, you're basically racing to try to see how far can you get your monsters along the board and who's got them the farthest. I'm thinking about doing a more 12 and up kind of a Halloween video. If I do that, this one will probably show up again. This one, now we're into the 5-player games. Haunted Mansion is a 5-player game. The way Haunted Mansion works is you'll have cards which represent artwork around the board. You'll have the 3 ghosts that'll move around the board. The hitchhiking ghosts will move around the board too. You're trying to get match sets. So you're trying to find a set of matching paintings. Some of the paintings will have, if you have 2 of these paintings, you get a certain number of points. 3, you get more. 4, you get more than that. And the point totals will almost double and stuff. There are some of them, if you think of the ride, there are some of them that are the paintings in the stretching room. If you have all 4 of the paintings in the stretching room, you get 1 value. If you have 3 of one of the paintings in the stretching room, you get a different value. If you don't have all 3, or you don't have 3 of one kind, or 4 that or don't match, you don't get any points. So there's this, how am I going to be able to get all the paintings that I want? Along with that, with the 3 ghosts moving around, when the 3 ghosts move on their turn, if you're in the spot that the 3 ghosts land in, you have to take 2 terror cards. And then if you're next to it, you have to take 1 terror card. At the end of the game, you total up all the points that are on these terror cards, and the person with the most terror points has to discard the matching set of paintings that they have. That's the highest value, which really hurts. But, and so there's another bit of a risk and reward. Do I think they're going to land on my space? Am I going to have to take tarot cards? Some of the paintings actually have you take tarot cards when you pick the painting up. Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion is a 5-player game. If you've ever played Betrayal at House on the Hill, this is a family version of Betrayal at House on the Hill. You're going to be, you'll have tiles that you'll be putting out to discover the mansion. As you're moving around and discovering the mansion, you'll be putting the tiles down. And you'll have your standees moving around trying to do things, trying to discover clues and that. And at a certain point in time in the game, when you've discovered enough, there will be a betrayer that is picked. And in Betrayal at House on the Hill, one of my problems with that game is it always seems to be the worst person they can possibly pick to be the betrayer. In this case, one of the things they do with the Scooby-Doo one is you as a group get to decide who's going to be the betrayer, who's going to have to take the book off to the side and read what the betrayer is supposed to do and take the betrayer's role. So you can always make that an adult, and then the children can continue to just play the Scooby-Doo characters. So another 5-player game is Chupacabra. It's a dice game. You roll the dice, and if there's a pair of eyes on your dice, then you have a Chupacabra. You can also get chickens and goats and cows or bulls, and you have to have a certain number of Chupacabra to take the chickens or take the goat or take the bull. And you're going to take, with your Chupacabra, you're going to take dice from somebody else. Each person will have 5 dice at the beginning of the game. You roll dice and try to take dice from each other until one person has all the dice. It gets kind of interesting when somebody's got 20 dice or 19 dice and they're trying to roll that massive amount of dice. But the game, generally, when I've played it, takes 15 to 20 minutes. I have seen some times when I've played it with my grandsons where it winds up taking almost an hour to finish the game. If you have more than one of these, one set of dice, you can play with more than the 5 players. Another dice game that I have is Zombie Dice. It says it's another 5-player game, but I know we've played this with much more. We played it with like 8 and more than that. The way this game plays is you take 3 dice out of the can, you roll the dice. There's going to be either a set of feet on the dice that says somebody got away, you're the zombie. There's going to be a shotgun blast on there that says you got hit by a shotgun, or there's going to be a brain. And it's a risk versus reward type of a game. You roll those 3 dice. Any brains you can set aside. Any shotgun blast you have to set aside. Any feet stay there. You pull if you pull out dice from the can to get yourself back up to the 3 based on how many. So if I put 1 shotgun and 1 brain off, I have 1 dice left. I have to pull 2 more out of the can to roll. And I'm trying to keep myself from getting 3 shotgun blasts, but getting as many brains as I possibly can. So I'm trying to avoid 3 shotgun blasts and get as many brains. Once I'm done and I say I'm finished, if I haven't gotten 3 shotgun blasts, I will get cards, or you will take points for every brain, and then you turn it over to the next person. If you got 3 shotgun blasts, then whatever you had brain wise, you don't get to score any of that, and you got to pass it on. You're still going to pass it on to the next person. First person to 13 brains wins. That sounds like a lot, but again, this one plays in about 15-20 minutes. So now I'm moving on to 6-player games. Disney's Hocus Pocus. It is Hocus Pocus like the movie. You're trying to keep the Sanderson sisters from making their potion. So you'll have a potion pot out, and there'll be 5 spaces for cards, and you're trying to get 5 cards that have the same ingredient on it, like thine own tongue is one of the ingredients, just like from the movie. If you can get 5 thine own tongues and each one of them is a different color, you will stun Winifred. If they're not all different colors, then you stun one of the other sisters. If you have 5 cards out there that are different colors, but aren't the same ingredient, which is okay, they're just all different colors, then you stun a different one of the sisters. You're trying to stun the sisters 3 times before you run out of cards. When you stun the sisters, you can take some of the cards in the discard pile and put them back into the deck to be able to give you more cards to go. But if you're not able to stun the sisters, the game goes pretty quick if you can't stun them. I've played it quite a bit, and I would say it's probably 50-50 when we win, but it's still a fun game either way. Here's another 6-player game. It's Monster Flux. So if you've played any of the Flux games, this is just another Flux game, and so it's another kind of a cheat. It just happens to have a monster theme. There actually is a zombie one that I couldn't find when we were recording this, but it's the same. There's a zombie Flux and there's a monster Flux. The way Flux plays is you start out, you draw 1 card, you play 1 card. And then the rules can change to make it so that you're drawing 2 cards and playing 3 cards. So, and then there's hand limits that you can have out there. You will put down 2 keepers out in front of you that match the goal. So as an example, one of the goals is zombie uprising. Well, if you have a zombie keeper and a graveyard or gravestone keeper, then you met the goal, so you've won that game or that hand. This is another one that's a little bit of a cheat. Zombie Kittens. If you've ever played Exploding Kittens, this is basically Exploding Kittens, but it's got a zombie theme to it. So in Zombie Kittens or Exploding Kittens, you're pulling cards off of a deck. You have a hand of cards. You're trying to get pairs to make it so that you're skipping your turn, or you're forcing somebody to draw more cards out of the deck. You don't want to draw the card out of the deck. That's the explosion. If you draw the card out of the deck, that's the explosion. You start out with the 1 defuse in your hand, so you can use the diffuse, and then you get to continue to keep playing. You'll slide that explosion back into the deck someplace. Well, the difference, what Zombie Kittens does to that is when you get the explosion, you can use a zombie cat, and the zombie cat allows you to pick 1 other player who's already out of the game and bring them back in while you're using the zombie cat to put the explosion back into the deck. So, but it's basically Exploding Kittens if you've ever played Exploding Kittens. It says 5 on it, but if you have Exploding Kittens, you can pair Exploding Kittens up with this, and play with more people. With the exploding kittens that I have, I can play with 10 people playing exploding kittens, and then this lets me play 5 more people. So now I'm moving into the up to 8-player games. This one's 2 to 8. It's Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. If you have Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, again, this is a little bit of a cheat. This is just a Halloween version of Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. The taco cat, the goat, the cheese, and the pizza are just wearing costumes. The way this game plays is you flip a card over, you flip the card of yours off your deck over, and you're saying the word taco, cat, goat, cheese, pizza in that order as you're going around the table. If what you flip over happens to be the word you just said, so if I flip it over and I just said taco and that card's a taco, everybody's supposed to slap the table. Once you slap the table, the last person to slap, so their hands on the top of the pile of hands, has to take the whole pile, and the object is to get rid of all of your cards. There also are 3 special cards in here that make you do different things. There's a gorilla in here that makes you pound your chest before you can slap the deck. It's Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza wrapped in a Halloween flair. This is another one that's an 8-player game. Don't mess with Cthulhu. The the way this game plays is it's a hidden roll game. You'll pass out cards to everybody that says this is what your role is. There will be up to 3 cultists that want Cthulhu to win, and then everybody else will be investigators. In another deck, you'll have a certain number of elder signs or runes that you'll be putting into the deck, and then you'll put a Cthulhu, and then the rest of the deck will be just blank pieces of paper or whatever. You shuffle that deck up, you'll deal 5 cards out in front of everybody. Then everybody will say, I have X number of whatever in my deck. So I have nothing in my deck or in my hand. I have nothing in the cards in front of me. I have so many runes. I have Cthulhu in front of me, right? Whatever you want to say about the cards that are in front of you. You can lie about what's there. Matter of fact, if you're a cultist, you probably do want to lie. And then you'll take turns going around the table, and each person will point to one of the piles of cards, one card in there. You'll flip that card over. If it's a rune, it goes to the center. If it's not a rune, it goes off to the side. If it's Cthulhu, everybody but the cultists have won, everybody else lost. You keep doing that. You'll then pick up all those cards and deal out 4 because there's only 4 left to be able to give out to everybody instead of 5. Do that again. Once you get either all the rune cards out in the center of the table or you found Cthulhu, whichever side that happens for is the winners. This is also an 8-player game. It's actually 8 and 8, so I can play with more than 8, and I've been able to use it to play with 13 or 14. The way that Dracula, Feast for New Blood, or Night of the Mummy work is it's a hidden roll game. So you pass out cards, everybody's got a roll. You then can ask people if they are someone. So you can ask them, are you Dracula? And they're supposed to they have 2 cards, a yes and a no. They're supposed to pass back to you either a yes or a no based on if they are or if they aren't the person you ask them. Some of the characters, like the trickster, always lies, so they're always going to lie to you. Otherwise, you're not supposed to lie about who you are. Some cases, they tell you you're supposed to lie. There's one character that thinks he's Dracula, so if you ask him if he's Dracula, I think you might even win the game if you ask him if he's Dracula. The other thing you can do, you can dance. So what a dance is just walk off to the side of the table and you show each other your cards so both of you know who each other is. Certain characters are required to dance, other characters refuse all dances. And then the last thing that you would do when you think you know who everybody is around the table, you make an accusation and you go around the table with a different set of cards and you tell each person who you think they are. They then use the yes/no cards to answer yes or no. When you get those cards back, you flip them over, and if all of them are yes, you won. If there's any no's in there, you have to flip your card over to tell everybody who you are, and then you continue to play until somebody figures out who everybody is. This is another set that's just like that. One Night Ultimate Werewolf, One Night Ultimate Werewolf Daybreak, and then this one's One Night Supervillains. We originally bought the Supervillains because we thought the theme would be better for the kids to play because you're trying to figure out who the supervillain is. But what we found out was my grandkids like to play the werewolf ones instead of the supervillain one. Again, this is a hidden role deduction kind of a game. You will each be given a card, and then there'll be three cards put out in the middle of the table. Those three cards at the middle of the table, nobody has. Everybody will close their eyes and we'll say it's the night phase. There's a nice app that runs you through this, or you can see from the book, one person can run it and everybody else is playing. But the app does a good job of saying, leading you through and saying, all right, everybody close their eyes. It's night. Werewolves, open your eyes. So the werewolves open their eyes and they can see each other so they know who the werewolves are. Then the werewolves have to close their eyes. Then different characters wake up at night. Some of them, like a seer, can go peek at some cards. Some of them, like a doppelganger, can switch their card with somebody else. Then the day phase happens, and you have a discussion around the table about what do you think has happened? Who do you think the werewolves are? Or who do you think is at least a werewolf? There's a timer in the app that I think it's 5 minutes long. At the end of that, then it says, okay, everybody vote 1, 2, 3, and point at the werewolf. And everybody does a vote to point at a werewolf. Person who gets the most votes, we flip their card over. If they're the werewolf, then all the villagers win and the werewolves lose. If they're not the werewolf, then the werewolves triumph and the villagers lose. It's one night. You do it in one turn, and then you can rinse and repeat. So it's like 15 minutes or so to play through a round. The last one I have is Gathering of the Wicked, which uses the Disney villains. Not sure how well you can see this because it's such a small box. If you've ever played Werewolves of Miller Hollow, it's the same game. We're just using Disney villain characters. You can play up to 12 people. The way this one plays is they can see who everybody is. So if you're Maleficent, you can see that you're Maleficent. Maleficent and most of the major villains have a minor henchman with them, like Maleficent has a crow. So everybody knows who everybody else is. Then you pass out a second set of cards, and there's up to three traitors in your midst. And those three traitors are trying to get everybody voted away. Same as like the Ultimate Werewolf. Close your eyes, but there's no app, so you have to have one person who's running the game as the moderator for the game. So they tell everybody to close their eyes. Then the three traders, or 1 to 3 traders, depending upon how many people are playing, will open their eyes. They will vote on one person that they want to kick out already. They want to have leave the game. They will then close their eyes. And certain minions and certain other things can happen, like the crow can open their eyes and kind of see what's going on and give some clues to the people during the day who the traders are. You open your eyes, and the moderator says, this person the traders took this person out. There are ways you can protect that person if you want to, or the person leaves. Everybody around the table talks about what they think's going on and who they think are the traders and why they think they're the traders. You all vote. Whoever that person is has gotten the most votes. They flip their card over, and you look to see if they're a traitor or not. If they're not the traitor, then you've just gotten rid of a good person. If they are the traitor, depending upon how many traitors there are, you either have won the game or you're one step closer to winning the game. Then you repeat that again. You go through the night phase and then the day phase, and you keep doing that until either all the traitors are found or there are less non-traitors than there are traitors. So let's say we had 3 traitors in the game. If there's only 2 non-traitors left or 2 good people left in the game, the traitors have automatically won. You don't have to keep playing the game. And that is my selection of family weight games that we like to play for Halloween. There are other games. I'm sure people are wondering, like Villainous. With Villainous, it's not as easy to play. You really have to be like 8 or better. Otherwise, you need help. So that's why it doesn't get down to that 5 or 6 year old as easily. So that's it. If you made it this far with me, thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you could hit the like and subscribe buttons, I would appreciate that also. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.